Today we are going to learn about the numbers in Python. Numbers are stored in numeric data types in Python. Let's look at the index of our video. Firstly, we will learn what is numeric type of data types. Then we will go to learn about integers, float, complex numbers, type conversion, random module for random numbers. Now let's start about numeric data type. Python is having numeric data type to store numbers. There are few numeric types in Python: integer, float, and complex type of numbers. Variables of numeric types are created when you assign a value to them. To verify the type of any object in Python, you can use Python's built-in data type function. Let's see the example. Here we assign the value of 1 to x, which is integer number, and we are printing here the value of x and type of the x. Don't worry about the print function. We will learn about the print function in detail in future. Y equal to 10.5, which is float number. We are getting the type of the data which we stored in y and the value of y. Now z equal to 1 plus 2j, which is a complex number. Python will assign the complex data type to the complex number. So here we given the output of x, y and z, which shows that x equal to 1 is assigned integer number type to a x variable, then y get float as we stored 10.5 in the y, and z have complex type of number because we are storing the complex number in the z. Now integers. Integers are a whole number. They can be positive or negative and they don't have any decimal value. Integers are having unlimited length in Python, unlike other languages have limited length in any data types. Let's look at the example. Integers in Python. We are storing here x equal to 3, which have integer data type, and again we are storing a large number of integer type, which is also having the integer type of data. Now we can say that here Python don't have any data type like long integer, short integer. It has only data type integer. You can store unlimited length of data in the integer, but it should be positive or negative and a whole number. You can't store float in the integer number type of data. Now what is float? Float is a floating point number. It can be positive or negative, and it can have with one or more decimal points. Scientific numbers with e to indicate power of 10 can be stored in float also. As we discussed before, we can say float is having any one or more than one decimal points after the real number. Now let's look at the example of floats. 1.10 is called a float number. We stored it in an x variable and we printed the value of x and the type of x. We get the value of x equals to 1.1 and the type of x is given by the Python, which is float type of data, as we can see in the output. Now x equal to 1.0. We are having after 0.0 number. We can say it's an integer, but 0 is also a number and it shows that 1.0 is a float value and user wants to store it as a float. So he or she give it a 1.0 to the variable x. So Python will store it as a float type of data. Now you can store any positive or negative number in it. So here minus 65.53 is a float type of data. We can use e to show the base of 10 in float. Now we have 335 e raised to e3, which means 35 into 10 raised to 3, which gives us 35,000.0. It is a float value. You can use capital E for that too. Now you can give negative value, which is our last example, minus 100.7 e 200, which means minus 100.7 into 210 raised to 200. Now let's go to learn about the complex number. Complex number has two parts, real part and imaginary part. Real part have real values and imaginary part have imaginary values. To show the imaginary part, we will use the j with the value of imaginary part. Let's see the example. 3 plus 5j. Here 3 is real number and 5 is imaginary as it has j with it. Now it's stored in the x, so we will get the type of x as complex number. Now you can store real data, which means 1.0. Real value is 1.0 plus 2j. It's also a complex number. You can use negative value and only imaginary part can be stored in it. Now if you store x equal to j, then it will show the error of j is not defined. To store only j, we need to put 1j, which means same as j. It will give hint to the Python virtual machine that j is imaginary part and it's a number. Type conversion. We can convert numbers into one type to another with integer function, float function, and complex functions. These are the methods to convert one type to another. We can convert integer into float or complex number. Same as integer, we can convert float to integer and complex number. But we can't convert complex number into integer or float, as the imaginary part of data we will lose in that. When we convert float into integer, we will lose the decimal data because integer numbers only show the real part. Let's see the example and convert numbers into one type to another. Here x is having integer number, y is having float number type of value, and z is having 1 plus 1j, which is complex number example. Now if we want to convert integer into float, then you simply write float and in the float argument just give the value of integer number. Here I give x, which is having integer number value 1. It will convert the value integer into float and we will get the answer 1.0. Now if you want to convert integer into complex, then here we have imaginary part as a 0, which means 0j. So it will show the value 1 plus 0j. Now if we want to convert float to integer, then simply write integer and give our integer value, float value in the argument, which is integer, and in bracket y. You can directly write 1.11 in the integer as an argument. So you will get 1 and you will lose the data 0.11. So when you convert float into integer, then please be careful because you will lose the data after the decimal point. Now converting float to complex, use complex method and give argument float number in it, and you will get 1.11 plus 0j here. Now let's learn about the random numbers. Python does not have random function to make random numbers, but Python have random module which is built-in module. By using random module, we can make random numbers. All we need to do is to import random module, and after that we can use its methods to make random numbers. We will learn in detail about random module in further future. See one example for the random numbers for now. Here I imported random module which is having name random. So import random will import the random module. Now I'm using random modules method name rand range range. So it will give me one random value from 20 to 30 range, and whenever I run this program I will get the value of this x variable which is storing the value random plus range from 20 to 30 will be different from every time. Here I run that program 4 times and I got 4 different values for the x variable. Now you can see that this random module will give you random numbers from 20 to 30. You can change this range to 0 to 10 or 20 to 40 or any other. We will learn about this random module in future. Okay. If you like the video and you feel that it's knowledgeable, then like, comment, subscribe and share. If you have any doubts regarding this video, then do comment and share with your friends too. Thank you.